Meeting to order, being 5 o'clock. We signed the warrants. Do you sign the warrants there?
Yep. Kerry has them over there.
Okay.
No abatements.
No, yes.
So we have to vote to hire Karen Howard for.
Well, we still haven't done the minutes.
Huh?
We have to do the minutes of last meeting. You didn't?
Oh, yeah.
It's up the very
I skipped
top.
that at the very top.
Yeah.
Did everybody have a chance to review the minutes?
Yeah, I emailed Kerry, I don't have any issues with it.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from March 20th.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. And I signed this one because Rick wasn't here, right?
Yeah. Hey, John.
Rick?
I'm keeping your seat warm over here. So we can skip down to vote to hire Tara and Howard for the lead and copper survey grant.
Yep. You want to explain that, Wayne, or?
Turn on the copy so nobody can hear me. So there's been grant money to do the lead and copper survey, but it always requires you get funded first and things like that, and then it requires my time and effort, which in the end, if I gotta give my time and effort, it's only another step to go out and survey the town ourselves. We've already begun surveying. Deborah set up an app on the iPad, so when we're doing final reads, we're doing the surveys as we go. So we're filling in information even though, but the DEP changed it because nobody was applying for the grants for lead and copper survey because you had to go through all the efforts of town meeting. What was the sense of it? But they changed it so now the money's up front. So Tara and Howard agreed, you know, they offered it and we accepted because we're just going under with lots of work.
Yeah, we were talking with, actually Rick wouldn't know because he wasn't here.
Right.
Right the day after our last meeting, James Hoyt and Jen Raza from Tater and Howard were in going over a bunch of stuff, and that's when they brought this up. About basically it's free money,
So we
and we
don't,
don't have to put anything
We don't
up.
have to do anything. They'll
Yeah.
get billed, they'll do all the billing to DEP. The check may come to us and we have to turn it back over to them, but hopefully it just goes to them and it's easier process.
no, who's paying for it? The state?
The state. They're big into the lead and copper. They're really like, there's free money if you haven't done your due diligence on your lead and copper, which cities it's harder because it's really expensive. You got a lot of utilities in the ground. I think like Fall River is.
What are they looking at? They used to, when we did the survey, they looked at the dates of the construction. of the
No, they
house.
want lead service lines. They want them gone. They
We
don't
don't
want
have
any
it.
lead pipes, no lead service lines. That's what
The only
they're
thing,
going
we don't have any lead pipe.
Right.
There's none in town. We have lead goosenecks.
There are a few, I've
And
been
steel
here 17
services,
years, I've
that's
been,
it.
only
And-
seen a few.
I know where there's, I think one, just beyond John Cruz's house, heading toward Brockton North, there's a house there with a square box
Yep,
in the sidewalk. That's, if you see a square box, that's never got changed out. That's a steel service. And the steel services are the only ones that have a lead gooseneck. And it's
Actually,
probably that long, that's all it is.
yeah.
And I think we got rid of, before I got here in '76, they put a big push on getting rid of steel services, and then all the time I was here, we were taking them out whenever we found one. So,
There are about 20 in
I don't
town.
think you've got too many.
And I wanna find them to get rid of them because they're a ticking time bomb. Like I know there are 3 right at the beginning of West Street sitting there, and one of them we've repaired it and spent 8 hours trying to find a good piece to get back to, and I told him he needs to change it out. And then his neighbor came in,
Yeah,
but
but
never did.
has our side been replaced?
Yeah,
Okay, if our side's been replaced, there's no lead.
right.
Because
It's
the only
not.
places a lead gooseneck is between the main and the steel pipe.
Right.
Period.
Yeah, we've come
On their
across,
side, there's never any lead.
yeah, we've come across some of the old boxes. You guys were really cheap in the old days. Like whatever you took out of the ground went right back in the ground. We've come across a few old square boxes. Luckily, they panicked it and there's copper underneath it. It was good.
Well, I don't remember really putting the old boxes back.
I know, but there are.
Maybe a contractor's, sometimes the contractors, if they're making a repair, they'll
Yeah.
use the old box.
Or it's late in the day and guys wanna get out of there and they just drop the old one back in.
Yeah, they're not gonna go buy another one.
Right.
If we come by and we're gonna give them one, that's one thing, but they're gonna use the old one.
But we have to do the stuff anyway,
Yep.
and do the survey, so
Yeah.
if we're gonna get it for free.
It's free.
Yeah, do it, but
I make a motion that we hire Tater and Howard for the lead and copper survey
Second.
under the grant program.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Water rates, service fees.
Oh, the service, I
For
never got
discussion?
around to that, huh? I didn't get around to getting the cost of the brass, I'll just put it back on there for next, I'm trying to get the cost for what it cost us to go
What it
across
actually
the street, and
costs.
what it costs to put in a meter, because I'm sure it's above the 400 now.
Or I'll make a motion, we table it till the next meeting. Give
Yeah,
you a chance to get the data.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, you gotta look at the cost of the service lines going across the street and
Yeah,
on the same side, yeah. Whenever we looked at those, they were way out of whack. Discussion, vote on water department doing new service tie-ins.
so I'd like to outsource the new service tie-ins. I'm gonna get upvoted here, but we have that contractor bay is gonna tie into Route 28. There's no way, no matter what I do, we're gonna make money on that going across Route 28, because it's about a foot thick in asphalt. It takes us almost a day to break through the asphalt. And then trying to shoot the bullet across, we may or may not get it, because that's a compacted road. It just takes a stone to send it in the wrong direction. I mean, if we don't do new services, then when the contractor goes for his road opening permit, then the DPW will hit him with infrared, and they're happy because their thing will get infrareded. We're not involved in any of the costs. It's hard to tell how long in any one day that we'll be spending going across a road. Like if I have to go across Route 28 and we're only making like $2,000, it's gonna cost me more than that in detail cops to do that job, because I'm gonna have to do it in days and pieces. And depending upon what I get for an officer, it can be very expensive. You know, I'm not saying anything bad to them, it's just, it gets really costly
Yeah,
when you're
yeah.
on a road like that.
The only good thing about us doing our own is we know what we put in the ground and it was done right.
Well, it's just a matter of
When you-
inspecting
When
behind them.
you depend on a private contractor, he's gonna try to do it as cheap as he can, cut corners,
We just have
and
to
everything
stipulate.
that we own, we're responsible for.
Right.
And, you know, I like to see sand put around the copper and that it's properly laid. Now, once it gets on private property, if they wanna cut corners and it doesn't hold up, that's one thing, but, too many times I've seen work that's just not 100%. I like to, and yet, you know, how many of those big services do you get in a year? Couple?
Only a few. Well, I know this one's coming up because they're going through the permitting process now, and I'm pretty.
Where is this one?
That's the one that across from Lucini's house.
Okay, and how big a
Oh,
line?
all right, down the,
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to run a 1-inch line across Route 28.
1 inch?
Well, 18.
Is it a 1 inch?
I think they're gonna be 1 inch because it's just a concrete. They're just gonna have a bathroom. They're not gonna be doing anything else. Well, maybe. It's hard to tell yet. Unless he has to put in a sprinkler system, then I make out. Then he's gotta hire somebody.
No, the main isn't, there's no main, it's on the opposite side of the road?
Not down there.
Where is it?
Make sure I picked the right road here.
Can you bring that up on the TV then?
I can.
if I pick the right slot.
I thought that main was out the road there. Pretty good,
What is down here?
by Billy's house.
I'm not sure which one's Billy's. I'm not sure which one I'm looking at. Did it come up yet? Yeah, it did. Does it give an address on that drawing? This is the locus.
So right at the top, dead center, isn't that, got a license, got an address on it?
307 South Main. Yep, so that's it right there.
That big lot.
And the water main's on the other side. I know further back a ways, it is on both sides, but up on this end, it's not.
Right. How far is it? Where's the edge of the road there? Can you zoom in a little bit? Take a measurement from the, there's a measurement there from that curb box up to the main, see it?
11.8 from the curb box out. It's 11.8 or 6, one or the other.
And what's that? 4 inch or 6 inch cast iron?
6 inch.
6 inch.
And if I come from that main and I run across, I'm looking at almost 40 feet to clear that road. That's 1 foot thick of asphalt. That's jackhammering for almost an entire day for us to get through that. Because our machine won't rip that blacktop. It's too thick. I'd have to rent a machine to do that one.
So you're looking to just contract out this one tie-in?
If I can get this one out, that's fine. Like, we're not gonna make any money on that road, and I'm gonna tie my crew up for at least a week.
So we'd have to come up with like a set of standards that we want the contractor to follow, and you could have, thinking of having like approved contractors to do it, or?
That's where it gets funny. I see specking out the materials that they'll be required to use, because you don't want them using just any old stuff.
Well, they got,
And the, like what Rick said, the bedding, sand bedding.
Right,
for
and the
top
sand
of it.
bedding, which we require anyways, that's, you know, the sand, it's gotta be sitting in a foot of sand. And then, you know, and like they may actually apply under my road opening permit. Like when you're on 28, it's harder to get a road opening permit. So they usually come under my permit and start applying.
yeah, they have to. That's a state road, and we have to pull a permit for any contractor. If even it's a private job, they're still under our name. And we're responsible to keep the road up. If they'll go up, they'll call the contractor, but if the contractor doesn't respond, the town has to.
Yeah, no matter what, because I've had things appear before, I'm like, we didn't do any work. It's still at your gate box, you gotta fix it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the way it's always been.
No, I mean, and plus, given our staffing issues that we're still going through, I don't have a real issue in saying, I mean, particularly if you did certain ones and, you know, didn't make it either or.
Right.
Tell, when they come in, tell them, you want, you know, you're gonna hire a contractor, or we're gonna do it. But if you're on side streets, resident, it's probably not a big deal.
No, but like that road, it is. It's a big deal to be out there. Especially if it was on the same side, or it's not as bad, but where I've got to cross the whole road and try to shoot the bullet, and that's a long distance to shoot.
You're gonna rate, you're gonna increase the price because the private contractor's gonna charge you a lot of money to do.
I wouldn't get prices from the contractor. I shouldn't be involved in that. It's whoever they
So
hire.
you're gonna tell them that they have to do it,
Yeah,
that they have to hire a
push
contractor.
it back on
to
them
put
that
it
they
in.
have to work with us.
Then you're gonna have to make sure that you have somebody there inspecting what they're doing.
Right. I don't mind giving up one guy, but when I have to give up my entire crew for the day, or days, that's a lot of
And then
work.
if something breaks at a station or something
Right.
else, then you have an issue with trying to get that done at the same
Yeah, I
time.
mean, the DPW is good, they loan me guys when I need them, but it's a lot of work, that's a lot of work for us.
When you get a leak, you still gotta do it.
Yes, we still have to, yeah, we chased that leak that we did find, because that's, all of that pipe is that, whatever kind of pipe it is, it's every 8 feet, it's a section of
Yeah.
pipe, bolted, 2 bolts.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of places to leak.
Yeah,
I mean, you were gonna also be looking at the cost to do the service tie-ins, you wanna come back with
yeah, no, I'm gonna get the
a
cost of
set for
that.
what those are, and like if you have a list of roads, maybe you'd wanna push them onto the contractor
Yeah,
for the services. 'Cause I think, as long as we get our fees right,
right,
it's not a bad thing to have that you guys are doing it especially if something, it's something that's not gonna take that long.
Right.
And we're gonna lose somebody to inspect it anyway, because I agree, you want somebody watching what goes on. You
Yeah.
don't wanna have a chance of something later on.
like Manly, Route 18, you know, North and South Main Street, 106, those are, when you have to go across the road, those are time consuming. And they're busy places. We're gonna have to go out on 106 anyways, because we found a gate up near the construction that's about to happen for the warehouse, that the nut is rounded off, so we're gonna have to get down and fix it. So the DPW approved that I can put in a road opening permit and get it open. So we're gonna be out there, probably not this week, but next week. And that's another road that's about a foot thick with blacktop, and it's a lot of jackhammering.
Alright, so what do you guys thoughts on that? You gonna,
I mean, I could submit to you a list of roads, and then you can say, yeah, that one or that one, or you can just say, all right, you're gonna do it anyway, you know, it's up to you guys. I'm just telling you that, like, that's gonna tie us up big time. That's a
I
week's
mean,
worth of work.
I think I'd like to see us continue to do them where it makes sense for us to do
Right.
them, but with what we have for staffing, I don't see how we, you know, something like that, if it ends up taking you a couple of days,
Right,
and what happens if something goes wrong?
yep,
I mean, it would make sense to be able to have it set up so that you can just tell the person, look, you're gonna have to get a contractor
yeah,
to do this one,
yep,
and at their cost.
right,
Yeah, I feel comfortable doing this one and seeing how it goes.
all right, we could vote just to do this one and then see how it works after that, because this is the.
How quick is this coming up?
I know they're working through permitting, I'm not sure anything else after that. Like, the plans came in, so we could probably table, they're not coming
Oh,
in.
that's why I was
They haven't even
asking.
started building yet, so.
All right, then I'll make a motion, we just table it, you come up with your cost numbers in the street, and we'll deal with it all at once.
Yep.
okay, so I hear that as a motion,
That's a motion. Second.
all in favor? Aye. Let's see. Capital budget vote. To remove the article for Norman Avenue and Sear Street.
Yeah, you gotta, so that's in the capital, but you weren't here. We're not gonna make the SRF October 15th deadline for that. The pilot program stopped. The pilot company themselves stopped because they could see that they were wasting money. There's color in the water, and there's a lot of organics too, so it's gonna have to be treated probably with coagulation. If I'm getting that word right. So they stopped, they haven't restarted the pilot test yet, so at some point they're gonna come back and start the pilot again, looking at how to treat Station 1. The other stations don't really require, it's just Station 1 is gonna require more treatment. So it's listed as one of our 3 articles, so we can pull that article off. That way, I remember the last time that I said an article was gonna be removed at the town meeting and everybody got upset.
With this one, it's not gonna be ready to go.
No, it won't be ready, they're not
Because
gonna make it.
we
As
have
it
to
is,
do
they'll be
that.
crushing to do Manley Street, because we're gonna look for results to design the plan. So they'll be pushing for that. So it'll probably come up in next year's.
The more that station runs, the cleaner the water gets. When it's not running a lot, you get, the quality isn't there. We used to get discoloration and stuff, but that station, years ago, that was the only station we had. And it ran around the clock.
Yeah, we ran for the first part of the pilot test, it was almost 2 months.
It runs steady.
Yeah, 24/7.
And by the end of the test, did it improve at all?
No, it actually got worse.
Really?
Yeah. That's why they were looking for the NPA testing. I wish James was here, but they didn't print out anything. So we're probably not gonna have to do that. They did talk with DPW.
I think he just pulled
DEP.
down the hill.
I think
Oh,
we did, yeah.
So he didn't feel that, the DEP didn't feel we needed to test it.
Okay.
And next on the thing here is,
So we have to vote to take that off?
Yes, you should.
Oh.
I think we voted to get it on, so you just have to vote so I can remove it.
all right.
We want our approval.
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we remove the Norman Avenue Sear Street article from the town warrant.
Second.
All in favor?
I remember us talking about it, and it made sense, but
Yeah.
so that the group did it.
Is the truck back on?
The truck is back on.
Okay.
I just removed the year. I just said Ford F-750 because if one shouldn't be available due to we're having issues getting everything.
Right.
Well, see if you can get, so we're not tied down.
Right.
Vote on the employment contract for the GIS coordinator.
I don't have anything to do with it.
Oh, so we did.
Oh, is this it right here?
Yep,
Yeah, so I know Linda and Dave sent out contracts.
yep, they sent out the contracts, basically Deb had given her notice. And she was gonna go to Taunton, I think it was Taunton, she had gotten another job offer, she was going to take it, and the selectman administrator's office came back with a better deal for her, and
Good.
she accepted it. I actually spoke to her today, and she, just to make sure, she said, yeah, she's all set with it, she was gonna sign it this morning. So, this is just for us, where we pay half of it, we have to also vote to
Oh, I see.
accept it. It's basically increased her salary, and I think that was the main order of business.
Yeah, what's your thoughts?
I think, so I had talked to David when we heard that she offered a resignation and asked him to go back and see if there's something we could do to keep her. I think that her sticking around is gonna be good for the town in a lot of different ways. So I'm in favor of ratifying this employment agreement.
Okay, you wanna make that as a motion?
I'll make a motion to ratify the employment agreement as presented for Deb Taylor.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, I think it's important that we keep that GIS up to date, and you have a good, you gotta have somebody good in there that knows the system and keep it running.
Well, and that's the thing, there's a lot of value already for the time she's been here. She knows our system, she knows a lot of the stuff around the town, and she's been doing
Yeah.
good, so I don't wanna lose that.
She got good equipment up there. I know at one point we were trying to get her some stuff. Did she go, we got the money for her, did she?
Yeah, I wanted to buy a scanner so we can start scanning, because she can scan in the drawings that we get and then place the buildings, and then we can just physically go out and make sure they're in
Yeah.
place. And it gives you the landscaping, it gives you the roadway, it gives you everything when you scan it in, and she scales up. I'm just also looking, the state does, they do flyovers too, so the state actually is gonna do another one pretty soon, so she'll download that once it's available, and it's free. Doesn't cost us anything.
So we have the scanner, she has a scanner down?
No, she did spec one out a while back, and then, you know, whatever happened, it got pushed to the side. I haven't forgotten about it, so. It's not expensive.
Full size, about 3,000, something like that.
Yeah,
Well, if she could use it, I think that we should,
I'll make her use it.
Well, it has that place, we have a place to put it here if they don't, because I know she's in, it's not like the regular office that she has when she's over there.
So she negotiated, part of her negotiation was she was tired of going between multiple offices. So the muzzle, it was one of the endpoints, but I would like to take about 7 feet from that wall out to here and build 2 offices.
take what?
7 feet of space from that wall out to about here. And just put up a sheet walk, like a T partition, so that I get out of the break room and she gets out of the,
That won't be a very big office.
Yeah, those are, that was my first thought, those aren't big enough.
well, the guys can't have lunch because my stuff, if you look at the table in there, there's sample bottles everywhere, there's my papers. I don't know what to do.
Well, I know,
If you ask them, I cleaned up, this is actually clean.
space is a different issue, but if you know, if that stuff comes out of there, it's not fitting in an office that's 7 feet up.
Yeah.
If we have to look into doing something, we'll have to look into it.
All right, I'm in no hurry, I just
Yeah.
love it. But she's
There's
pretty
no
much
place,
gonna work out of
there's
here.
no place at the town hall for her?
No, they're grant writer and I forget whatever Tracy is and the other guy, not FinCom, but Concom.
Yeah.
They're all squeezed into one little area. They're like shoehorned in. There's no space up there.
You know, originally, John Cruz sitting over there in the corner, when I was here, we worked together, we put all the records for the, Board of Health on that map. Are they're up to date?
Whatever was still there was there. I did
No, but
try
I mean, the work
to
since I left to now, has that been updated?
No, I tried to work and I couldn't get anything out of them. I know I came to a few times and then I just gave up. But I couldn't get the drawings to come to here. It's not like I was trying to steal anything. I'm not trying to take work away from anybody, but I was trying to keep the GIS going. And because she's so fast that she was chasing me for work, so.
Well, John, seeing that you got 2 seats, you should
Try it.
try to.
I think now that I'll be on this side of the bench as well, I'll be able to assist in accommodating the increasing the capacity of GIS, the Board of Health information. We did that a few years ago. I think we put almost $10,000 or $20,000 into it from previous records.
Yeah, you've got,
updating it. Yeah,
we had,
quite
when I
investment.
was here, everything was moved over, as you had
Yeah,
sent out and scanned all your
Yeah.
records, and there was a red dot, I think, or something on every property that had
Yep.
the records on it. And you could just take that laptop out there and you click on that button and you could see the drawings, you could see whenever, the history of all the septic replacements and everything. People who made the application and everything, right in the field.
Yeah, at the time, we didn't have the software available to make attachments, but we do now. It was an upgraded license to do that, but
If
she
we have it, we might as well be using it.
Yeah, we did it through,
Yeah, Ty and Bond.
Ty and Bond, yeah, she had attached them all. because
Yes.
When the scans came back, they just told it to take, they were all labeled like by address. And then she told it every property address that has a record, put it on it, and it did. Then she said it, just instantly puts it on.
Right, that was Kristen. When Kristen left, what replaced her was not good. For $5,000, you weren't getting much.
Yeah.
And at some points, it wasn't even usable, so that's when we went out and we hired her.
yeah.
Yeah, well, it would be good in the town's interest to keep that map up because it's, first time ever we've had all the information in one place for everybody who needs it can find it.
You can attach a lot to it, there's a lot.
I know, I mean, the planning board can look and get a lot of information off of it.
It's worthwhile.
Once they learn how to use it. All right. So we already voted on that contract, that's all set, right?
Yeah, We did, right, Gary?
We gotta vote on that, did we?
Was there a signature spot?
Oh, no.
Was there a signature
Well, you,
spot?
I made a motion to ratify the contract.
There was no signature spot for us. The signatures
No.
were all the board.
No.
We just had to say we'd do it because we paid part of it.
All right, I just
But all
was
the,
asking.
all the signatures of the selectmen.
All right.
Right.
Okay. So are these both for,
Those are us here, they appear later on in the agenda.
oh, I see. All right. Do you wanna take care of Tara and Howard here first, or?
Well, I mean, we're
He's
at
gonna answer
stations
the next
anyway,
stuff.
so, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a particular one you want me to start with?
Sure. Whatever you wanna start with.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot, so I'll kind of give an overview of everything, where everything stands, and we can kind of dig into whichever ones we want. Some of them have a lot going on, so I'll try to be brief, but some of them might take a little bit of conversation to get through. So one of the first things I wanted to talk about is the iron and manganese project that's happening here. As you know, we submitted for SRF to do the design, which would have to be completed by next October. However, when we were doing the biological piloting, it was determined that some of the discoloration wasn't related to manganese at all. It was organic TOC, and that's a different treatment process to remove. So the piloting company recognized that that was going to require a different approach than we were doing. So they kind of took a timeout, and we met with them at our office. We kind of shared some ideas back and forth, and then ultimately we shared essentially an email with our opinion and attached their memo. And the long story short of that is that we recommend going forward with their memo, which would be to do some jar testing in the short term to see the best way to tackle the TOC. The hope is that we do some jar testing for coagulation. We find out what the ideal dosing would be, and if it's low, if a low dose is required, then it's pretty easy. We can do some coagulation up front of, say a Green Sand Plus, and not worry about overwhelming the Green Sand Plus system. However, if there's moderate to high doses needed, that might change the efficiency of what design we need to go with. We might have to do an alternate treatment option to remove the TOC, whether it's ion exchange is one possibility. So because of the uncertainty in the pilot, we no longer believe it's feasible to get through the pilot and then do our due diligence with the design and have a shovel-ready project by the middle of October, which is what that funding opportunity would require. So I think our opinion would be to move forward with the recommended approach for color, to see the best approach to get that out of there, and incorporate that in a future design and reapply next year for that SRF. So that application, I believe, is an August timeframe. So between now and next August, we'd be working hopefully through finalizing the pilot and even doing some preliminary design work, so that we're ahead of the game instead of behind chasing those SRF deadlines. So I guess any questions on that piece or discussion?
Preliminary. So, all right, so they just voted to remove it as an article from town meeting, so we won't be looking for funding. However, when you say advanced, so we're moving our ARPA money over to Manley Street. The lady kind of got mad at me at the state on that one, because you said you wanted it here, then it's back there. So,
Do you need a letter or anything from us with the justification? I mean,
no,
that
it's,
wasn't a decision that was made lightly on your part. There's
yeah, so
very
I
clear
believe there's another
circumstances.
special town meeting coming up in the fall. I don't know why, but I remember hearing it repeatedly when I was sitting in budget. So if we have to allocate money or borrow money to get ahead of it, then we need to know, you know, in the coming months.
So if we don't fund anything for iron and manganese until we have the pilot study complete, the time frame would just be the same as what we anticipated this year. So we would be looking at, you know, come next, you know, town cycle, we'd be, you know, starting the design, and it would be aggressive but doable to get designed by October 15th. Depending on the commitment level, if, you know, we don't know what the program's gonna look like next year, right? So there may be some, you know, prudence in waiting and seeing what the SRF looks like, but it also depends on, you know, your time frame, your prioritization of getting that, you know, treatment plant up and running, because there could be some benefit to, you know, starting the design before, you know, town meeting of next year.
Well, we need to see what we're even gonna be having to do, because right now, there's a big range of what that plant might look like.
Exactly, right, which is why that's why we talked about kind of pumping the brakes, is because, you know, we couldn't even do, you know, building sizing and geotech, because we could be looking anywhere from just a green sand plus with some coagulation to, you know, biological treatment with a, you know, polishing step or an upfront step to, you know, pre-remove TOC before it goes through. So there's such a, like you said, there's such a wide range of potential designs. It just didn't make sense to, you know, rush through now.
So, if we're pulling in organics now and we weren't before, where would those organics be coming from?
We don't know. We're also not sure how long they've been there undetected. Because we did sample, you know, I think Wayne worked with Blue Leaf and took samples in the other wells, which are close, right? I mean, Norman,
Exactly.
well 4 and Sear 4 and 5,
Yeah,
and none of them have that color.
They don't.
Correct.
So that one's in between the two that don't have it. Do you think it would be less costly if we just re-drill the wells at a different spot and not have to do the treatment?
I don't know, because if you can, it's a replacement well if you can do it within 50 feet, but then you're investing in test wells moving 50 feet. Like, theoretically, the reason why you can do a replacement well is because it's assumed that you're not changing your underlying conditions, right? That's why it's a fast track permitting process.
Well, what I'm thinking is treatment facilities are very expensive, and they're also carry a long lifetime worth of maintenance. So would it be more cost effective just to look for another spot for a well 200 feet away, that we might be 300 feet away, that might be just a little bit cleaner, more like representative of this one and the one at Norman Avenue, where you don't have that treatment facility that's running for the next lifetime?
Yeah, I think the pilot test could really help us see how that cost benefit analysis is going to pan out, because if we had it permitted as a new source, it's probably 2 years, right? The time frame between when we start with the state and get approval and construction of a new source. There's a lot of engineering and permitting involved with that too. And depending on what the treatment strategy is after the pilot testing, we could be looking at just a side stream where we're treating those 2 wells, pre-treating them side stream and then blending it into the rest of the plant. That might help reduce some of that, at least the overhead costs. Granted, it's not going to do a lot for you capital-wise, scaling for 2 wells versus 5 or 6. But in terms of the operational costs, that's certainly a fair point that it's a whole new treatment plant, especially if it's MIOX, if you're regenerating brine, if it's activated carbon that we're using as a polishing step, then you're talking about either regenerating that or shipping it out and paying for disposal and bringing the new media in. So, there's a lot of potential unknowns about capital and O&M costs. And the best case scenario is that we do the STAR testing, in a month from now we have good news on that. But I don't know. it hasn't, nothing's been easy for us. has it?
Until we start finding out what's going on,
Right.
we can't really decide one way or the other.
Right, it's best to let the pilot run out. Is there a time frame when they're gonna resume?
So they can start the jar testing anytime, we'll give them the go-ahead to do that if we're all in agreement. But they are waiting on the Green Sand Plus unit to come to us. We think our turn is up in about 2-3 weeks.
Okay.
So we'll keep you posted.
Okay.
We're probably due to check in with them again, just to make sure we're still on track.
Because I had been blending that station into the system, but very small quantities to keep the station running. I don't want to flip it over, because right now it's isolated from the system, set up for them. So I don't want to flip it over, and then 2 weeks later I have to flip it back.
Yeah, fair enough. Then the last piece I had on that was just regarding the MPA testing. I mentioned before it might be something that DEP would look for. And essentially what that would be looking for is to see if there's any surface water impact on the groundwater. So we call it groundwater under the influence of surface water. This site, we went back and checked, it would be exempt. And Jim at DEP, his initial reaction was that he wouldn't require us to do it. And given that it's, not the easiest sample, I don't know that we would necessarily recommend you move forward with it if they're not going to require it as part of our test. At that point, it would just be for your own, I guess, peace of mind. We're not, like I said, we're not in an area where we would anticipate that that's the case. We thought, we were trying to anticipate what DEP's response, to this was. We're doing the pilot under an approval, a pilot test proposal we submitted to them, and we're doing the pilot test under that approval. So we do keep them posted on the schedule and how things are going. And we're lucky that our relationship with Jim has been very positive, that we feel like we can collaborate with him without having to, worry. So we've been kind of engaging him. He sent an email I saw that came through. I was on my way over, just kind of asking questions about the history back there. So he found some aerial photographs he wants us to take a look at. But at this point, I think you can wait on the MPA testing until we're done discussing it with Jim, see what his thoughts on it are. So that kind of does segue into the PFAS project, right? We were talking about which one you can apply the ARPA funds for. In the PFAS, we do think it makes sense to move forward with. We're still trying to get some better input from DEP. They're still not committing to exactly what the financials look like. But part of what I think we can do is reach out and let them know we're no longer planning to pursue the SRF for Sear Street. And that instead we're going to focus on PFAS, and I'll use that as an opportunity to try to, get some more interaction with them and see if I can get any more, any more information, even if it's just informal at this point, something to kind of shape our understanding of what that looks like. But in any case, that's a design that we do believe, we can move forward with. And have complete by that middle of October deadline. We're currently working through an engineering proposal that we would submit, draft proposal to get your thoughts on the design, scope of services and fee. And that one, we're planning on designing for a somewhat variety of outcomes. So as you might be aware, the demonstration pilot is, going into construction now. Which reminds me, did the town hall sign off?
I have not gotten the town hall to sign off.
Okay.
So
They did ask me, and I told them I would, just follow up and give them an update. So
the guy at the state retired.
no.
So somebody else is picking up the ball now, and I'm moving through the paper channels. But we have an article that funds that very same thing. So I just have to add up the numbers to see if we have enough between what the town has given us and what we got out of the article. It might be enough for Kathy to be able to sign and say, yeah, the funds are there.
How about the 100,000?
So there's the 100,000, but it's the,
Because that's for the short-term Manley Street,
Right.
was what that
well,
was
that's what's
originally.
the other part of it. But I remember we have an article that we passed at last year's for the pilot test. Even though the pilot has now turned into the short term, so we don't really need it, since we have the ARPA money was 100,000, and the town is, I wanna say 276.
Yeah, we spent some of that already, I think.
Yeah, not much. So
Yeah.
that's the 376, the whole thing, and it came under bid. But I think the article will cover the states until he gets his signatures in, because we're not gonna draw any money probably until they get going. So I think I can get it signed that way.
Do we have a time limit on that 100 grand from the state?
So I continually pestered everybody, the town and the state, as time was dragging on to make sure that money was still available, and I was guaranteed it was still available. It's still available to this, he's working through whatever they do paperwork wise.
Okay.
I sent them back in all his required information, and I'll pester him again, saying I need a
Yeah,
document.
so we have plenty of money, the bank is closed and we gotta wait for the window.
Right. There's a switch of tellers. But I think I can manipulate the tellers. maybe.
Shift change at the bank.
Okay. So yeah, sorry for the sidebar.
No,
Just- It came and I didn't want to lose it.
No, I haven't, it's sitting here.
All right, appreciate it. So we were kind of talking about, you know, I think the way we originally envisioned it, we'd have, several months of data from the short term before we, committed to a design approach. But, knowing that the media that we're putting in is going to work, it's just a matter of media life cycle. The only risk of moving forward with the design now would be that we're essentially eliminating carbon as an alternative, because we'd be committed to using either, we're gonna have to size the building and vessels, assuming that the media that's in place is what we're gonna use. But the vessels would be very similar size if we went to a different, like an ion exchange resin, and that's just based on the contact bed time being very different for the two types of treatment. So, based on the fact that we would only be moving forward with the DEP approved technology in any case, we didn't really feel like it was that risky. We don't think it's a risky proposition to kind of move forward with the design. So our approach would be to have a proposal submit to you so you can get through review. So by the time, town meeting happens and is voted, we can get, kind of going on design at that time. Hopefully we start getting some data in, around, the end of the second quarter, hopefully. And we have sample ports in that modified vessel, so we'll be able to, see the first sign of any breakthrough. And if by the time we get to the end, if there's no breakthrough, then that is going to tell us something. So that's kind of our thoughts on that one. Any questions on that?
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
All these acronyms that are coming up.
Oh, I'm sorry, I know.
See-
We've been talking about this every 2 weeks for years.
Does DEP have a standard in terms of eliminating PFAS, or is it something that you are designing and we will be essentially setting the standard for the state? That's what I'm getting across right now.
Yeah, so there are approved technologies. So these are technologies that have been accepted by DEP that they work. They're also they've been proven.
Proven that they do work?
Yeah, in Massachusetts. They're also all technologies that we've designed or at least piloted everywhere throughout the state. So the pilot test is our proof that this particular media works for our water, and that's what's ongoing right now over at Manley Street. We converted a spare vessel into a PFAS treatment vessel. We put some sampling ports in, so essentially we're going to start running all of our water through. And we're going to start, we're going to be sampling at these various points, and we'll see, if at the 25% mark you start seeing any breakthrough. So that means PFAS isn't removed at 100%. We call that, breakthrough. And you can, because it's a mass balance through the media, it is a correlation. So if you see a breakthrough at 25%, you can correlate that to estimate the total media time. So we don't have to pilot to exhaustion to be able to estimate the media life. We just need to estimate to, I guess, the first sign of breakthrough. And if it takes 6 months to get to 25%, then you have multiple years. That would be considered a successful application if you can go a couple years.
It'll take you 25 years for 100%.
Yeah. So it's, I think our expectation, I don't know, I guess expectation's the right word, based on, we did water quality sampling. We sent it out to the manufacturer of the media to come up with the design for this pilot. And they believe, based on the concentrations we're seeing, that the media could last anywhere from 18 months to 2 years, which would be great. That would be considered a good life. So we're now going to see that at full scale.
I don't mean to occupy a lot of your time. I'm just trying to get up to speed with the PFAS thing.
Yeah.
What are the surrounding towns doing in terms of the same
So Eastman
pilots
is
or?
building a plant. The federal government just came out with their regulations. I think it's about a year out before they implement them though. They came out with 4. Currently Massachusetts is 20.
Parts per trillion.
Yep, and the federal government said 4. So none of our things make it.
You can measure something 4 parts per trillion?
That's
It's
why
it's at the limit of what you can
That's
measure.
why they picked 4,
Yeah.
is because that's
Yeah.
what.
That's how low they can
It's the
measure.
minimum.
So basically, if it's detectable, they're gonna want it gone.
Yeah, and at that, even if you have between 4 and 0, you're in the action level. So now you have to act anyways.
Yeah, and I don't want to frame any of this as good news, but I guess the one thing working for us is that this is a non-detect technology. So whatever method, whatever media we ultimately go to, it's taking it all out. But that's using up the life of the media. So it's not like other technologies where if you're trying to get, iron or, copper and some of these other things that, you can precipitate out, but then the non-soluble piece, you can only go so low. So you'll have, even if you spend $3 million, you might not get, the chemistry might get it so that you can't get below a certain amount. At least that's not one of the challenges with PFAS.
But is the technology there to get it down to 4 parts per trillion?
Yes, so the technology will get it down to non-detect.
Wow.
At the expense of the life of the media. And so, the more you have to take out, the shorter the life. We've seen, that kind of go down. We saw a peak where we technically had our non-compliance was, I think, Q3 2020, 2019,
Yeah.
2020, I think. That kind of ended up being our peak. And I think we've been more in the mid-teens since then.
Well, the last one was 14.6, I think.
Yeah. The thing is, we now are going to start testing for different components, and we'll see how that changes things. But because we know that the limits are only going down, I think we were kind of hoping we could get this pilot in, wait and see. But with the direction it's going, and it's going to be a big news cycle item again. It's going to be in everyone's.
No, we need to take it out.
So I think we're at the point now where we have a path to move forward. We have funding that we suspect will be up to 49% principal forgiveness. We're expecting a low interest rate on the SRF loan as well. So we think financially it's going to be a good time to do the work.
All righty.
Did you want some good news?
Somewhat familiar with what the discussion is all about here. Just next time, just the acronyms of like the T. What is TOC?
So that's
I don't mean to
total
be-
organic
I mean-
carbon. Yeah, total organic carbon.
Okay.
I try to break them down like you've missed some of the other. It's
Okay.
full of, DP is full of acronyms.
Yeah.
It's-
And remember, before the election, you can call any of us and we can talk.
Got it.
Once you're sworn in, we can't talk
I'm well aware of
outside
the
of
open
the
meeting
meetings.
law violations,
Yep.
regulations.
But yeah, I mean, ask all the questions you want. So I'm here.
Very good, thank you.
So we could PFAS?
Right.
Alright, so the next one, I have to apologize. So this is the Walnut Street tank. And I was here promising you that you were gonna have this before this meeting today. I'm here to tell you that you're gonna get it tomorrow, which is unacceptable, and we recognize that, that's the case. So, I could give you my list of excuses, but that's not fruitful. I'll just say, we've had some backups in the modeling side of things. This kind of got caught up in the review. I think because we had the model verified in steady state, and then we were, running it in extended period simulation, we just wanted to be extra careful that we weren't extrapolating out inaccurate data and then giving you recommendations on it. So it did unfortunately kind of go in circles for a little bit, but we got that all sorted out last week, and now it's on the co-president's desk. And then once she signs off that it's a quality Tatum Howard product, then I'm allowed to send it along. So I have a bootleg version of it here that technically doesn't exist until she approves. But to kind of give you the long and short of it, so we ran 17 different scenarios to say, these are different things that may or may not improve the performance of the storage tanks. And what we're looking to do is increase turnover in those tanks. The Walnut Street tank specifically, we're having challenges kind of fluctuating it enough to turn over. As a result, we've seen some water quality issues there. So the first two scenarios we kind of eliminated right away. They were the easy ones. What if you take, we have two tanks at Spring Street. What if you didn't use the smaller one? Because you're showing I guess some communities have a deficit in storage. You guys have a surplus in storage, which is good, but that does make it more challenging to turn over. But as you can expect, it was a drop in the bucket, and obviously it can be challenging when you've invested in a tank to just eliminate it. We also looked at doing some improvements to the buried infrastructure in the area, upsizing mains in critical parts of town, and again, it was just a drop in the bucket. So kind of where we kind of left that is the next time that smaller spring tank comes up for rehabilitation, maybe you do a cost benefit analysis, say, do we continue to invest in this tank when we have a surplus or not? It's I think a question for another day. And then regarding the upgrading of infrastructure, we think just stick with your asset management plan. We don't see a benefit to bumping any improvements up the list, especially when already you have so much above ground infrastructure that's a priority to you. So then what that left us with was a range of scenarios where we looked at changing the set points in the various tanks, as well as scenarios where we use an altitude valve. And essentially what the recommendations in the report are going to say is that we do think there's going to be a benefit to using the altitude valves on the two Spring Street tanks, and then adding a mixing system especially in that large 5 million gallon tank. And we think the combination of those improvements will get you where you want to be water quality wise. We do have some intermediate steps that we list out in here. Essentially, I wouldn't call it trial and error because this is your system, you have to operate it, there are consequences. But we have scenarios here where, according to the model runs, you can let the Spring Street tanks drop a little bit more without the pressures ever getting below 35 psi within the system. So one of our recommendations would be to try that sooner than later. It's more or less a no-cost intermediate step. And then what we want to see is the real-time impact that has on Walnut Street, because we know that there's a lag. And under EPS, we're not seeing that same lag. And doing that step with maybe putting some data loggers in, maybe even doing a C factor test out around that well, there are things we think we can do between now and maybe as part of the design of the altitude valve to kind of dial in maybe some of the differences between what an EPS is showing and then what you're experiencing in the field. So again, I apologize that we didn't hit our deadline on this. That's not something we think is acceptable. But we're going to have a draft report for Wayne to look at tomorrow.
Forward that to me when you get it.
Here.
Sure.
Yeah, we dropped the tank up. I had it inspected this year, and it took us a long time to recover. Like, it took me almost a week to get that filled back up from, it was down under 90. Because it's hard. People, the
Yeah.
sprinkler systems, they don't want to adhere to water bans.
Yeah, well, I guess we're gonna have to talk about the timing of it, and the extent to which we do so. And we'd be happy to, when it gets to that point, maybe look at a couple weeks of SCADA data and kind of go over that approach before you just go and change the set points. We're happy to be engaged with you as we take any intermediate steps. And then I think we're curious in coming out with some data loggers and doing some testing out by the tank and see if we can identify why the Walnut Street tank isn't behaving. Because even with our calibrated model, Walnut Street is underperforming what the model says it should. Which is not a surprise to anybody in this room, right? So, did I miss anything?
Did you come up with anything preliminary as far as sizing on the altitude valves? We're talking about 2 vaults, one for each, one common. Did you get into that level of detail?
We did not. We would consider that kind of like a preliminary design. But we made some assumptions, put together a cost estimate of what it would look like. So if you think it'd be helpful, we can put together a little sketch.
Oh, so you have gone to that level, at least the cost, estimating what the cost.
Yes.
Essentially.
Yeah, just so that we can advise on the next steps.
Yeah.
This is what we think the construction costs are. We also priced out a couple different mixing options, which we would look at in more detail. For example, in some places we can get away with passive mixing, which like the duckbill nozzles and then the intakes. But where we have so little turnover in the tank, those work best in situations where you have more fluctuation.
That big tank never used to have, we used to just put it in from the bottom
Yeah,
of the
no,
tank, take
it
it
has
out.
the duckbills.
It does already?
Yeah.
And then we put the mixes in it.
Actually, I have pictures.
And we never used to have the problem when we didn't have any mixes.
Yeah, the mixes, in a summer day, you'd see the bottom 20 feet of the tank would be sweating, and the rest of it wouldn't, because you'd be turning over at the bottom. I didn't have any bacteria.
Well, it was all
Issues.
staying at the top of the tank
Right.
because all the water was going in and
Yeah,
out the
it was
bottom.
going in and out fast, so I was sampling fresh water. Now, it goes in and it's mixed with the Tideflex duckbills, and now in the summertime, I fail total coliform test there through the summer.
So we have more problems mixing the water than we did when we
Yeah,
did.
but if you ever had a fire or something, you pulled a bunch of water out, you'd be pulling all.
You gotta pull them out.
You still have the same problem. We just-
Yeah.
You gotta
You
pull
just
a lot of
weren't
water
seeing
to
it.
pull that tank
It's
down.
hidden.
Yeah.
That tank is huge.
I think it's like 115,000 a foot or
It was
something.
a 5 million gallons total, right?
Yeah.
5 million, yeah.
I think the only other item I think I had was on the lead service. I just sent it today, so I don't expect that you've had a lot of time to digest most of it, but I sent you a couple of different examples of scopes of services for lead service line inventory.
They voted to go with it.
Okay, perfect. Did you discuss, I guess, and this might be a bigger conversation. At this point, there are kind of two different paths. It's a grant now, so you have the bare minimum, which is to do the inventory in accordance with the Massachusetts DEP form. But where it's a grant, some communities are doing investigation work as part of it, in anticipation that the next step, once the state has everybody's inventory, is going to be, okay, go get rid of it all. So depending on, how much lead you suspect you have, you can add, scope to do home inspections, versus just the bare minimum. So I guess that's kind of be the next kind of decision, is as we, we're happy to do, the application for that grant. And part of that is going to be our scope of services, and the cost. So we'll get that to you first to make sure, you're comfortable with the scope and fee before we put it in an application and send in. But I think that's going to be one of our first decisions to make is, do we want to do what's, essentially we have a due date of next October, not, so October 2024. Here's the bare minimum. We have a lot of clients who are doing that, and that's, what they want to do. Then we have some communities that are also using their, technically because it's SRF, there is a program where they want you to use like minority or women-owned businesses for some of the work. So if you're just doing the inventory, we've been successful in submitting waivers to that requirement because, it's very easy to show there's not a split of work we can do. But communities who are trying to maximize the amount of the grant, they'll have us, sub out a company to do inspections, and they can, go into the houses. Some communities are essentially just sending out notices and relying on homeowners to go into their basements and take a look, for lead and get back. So I think that's maybe the next point of discussion is,
Yeah, we have an app with a QR code ready to go. It's just, it was cost of implementation. We were getting there, and then,
Okay.
the grant. We don't believe that this town ever used lead service lines. They used steel.
right.
We might have some goosenecks here or there, but I've been here 17 years, and I think I've seen 3 or 4 goosenecks, and that's it.
Yeah, so I mean, they're also making us report on the iron. And I think mostly, speculation of those goosenecks where, the iron is a rigid material,
Yep.
to get it into the houses, typically you see those goosenecks.
Most of those have been replaced, there's very few of them left.
Good. So then in your case, there might not be much benefit to,
Extending it.
building up the scope of services.
As a matter of fact, if you look back, we scanned all the cards
Yep.
for the copper services when they were put in. And if you go property by property, you should be able to find any house that has never been redone, because there'll be no card. Any property that doesn't have one of those pink cards
Yep.
has never been replaced. But there was a handwritten, since the time they were doing the copper services, there won't be very many.
Okay.
Because we made a point years ago, in the 70s, anytime we ran across a service that had a square top on it, that told us that it was steel on our side, and we replaced it with copper. Now, the homeowner side could be steel, but it wouldn't have any lead goosenecks. Our side would have the lead gooseneck from the main to the steel.
Yeah, so our inventory is gonna be both sides. We're gonna have an inventory for the private side, because here, is the curb stop the difference, right? The homeowner is
Homeowner,
responsible
yeah,
from the
yeah.
curb in, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to inventory both halves. Okay, great, so what we'll do is we'll put together a proposal, assuming that first step being, what's required by next October. And then one thing maybe we can talk about is the work you're doing with the QR codes. I think sometimes they get weird with previously done work, paying for it retroactively. So if you're at a stopping point, maybe hold off on doing any more so that, you know, we can include scope items.
Yeah, we're to the point where we either put it on a postcard or we put it in a letter and then mail it, so
Okay.
it's set and ready to go.
Okay, so then I would wait to send that because then, you know, potentially those are costs you could recover too. You know,
GIS coordinator, I bet you could put a,
That's what she did.
she did it, and
Yeah.
just ask it which ones don't have, one of those cards. You
Yeah,
come up with a list of houses that are potential, steel services. That's why that GIS is so important, that, you know, to keep her going on it. There's so much record keeping that's made simple.
okay. Any other items?
Any update on the replacement well?
So I reached out hoping to get an answer on the VFDs, but I didn't hear back from them yet, so I'll call them again tomorrow.
Yeah, we didn't make March. I was looking at the date, because on my notes to tell them, oh, and the end of March is gonna be one drive. And
And at the end of April's the second.
yeah, I know they're
We're
still.
late on the first, so it doesn't make you feel great about the second.
I know they're still having issues, because my daughter just had to buy a car, and like, we literally bought it off the truck as it showed up on it.
So, I mean, they should be inclined to talk to us because they have another contract, right? You know, Dan Chris is doing the work at Manning Street.
Yeah.
Like you said, Dan Chris isn't really the issue, it's.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're kind of that, it's kind of the same spot we have. They don't have a lot of leverage to pull. They're in line with
Yeah.
everybody else for these.
All right. Anybody else have questions?
I'm done. I'm done.
All right, appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much for coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, definitely, thank you.
I have copies, so I can send you back with these two.
Okay,
The other one, I'm still trying to get a signature.
very good. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right. So what do we have next? You wanna just go through the old business, anything that
All right,
we haven't
so,
already discussed?
yeah, let's see, we covered station 1 and 2, we covered station 3, we covered the update, replacement well, we covered Walnut Street tank. Yeah, the composting facility.
Yay.
How's that coming?
Well, they're moving forward,
Who? The town or
the contractor or the owner.
he's moving forward with building it bigger?
He wants to do something different. Maybe, you might not have seen it. There was,
There's a plan here.
there's a site plan for going to ZBA for
Here.
a special permit. They want to make that into a contractor's yard.
No. It's
Uh,
zone residential.
That's why they want a special permit. Because they're saying it
So
doesn't
it's-
work for residential because of its location.
So we should write a letter in total opposition to it.
So,
It's right there on your table. I drafted one up and we sent it out to people to take a look at. But you might not have had a chance to look at it yet. But they were talking about the compost, I guess the cease and desist they weren't complying with, but it's not.
If he wants to build a house there, that's
Owner.
fine, but if he wants to put a business there, no.
Well, that's. What they're proposing.
A lot of pretty colors, what's that mean?
Means they're gonna put a lot, they wanna put a lot of
Oh, this is his lot.
storage
yeah, so this
containers.
is the West Bridgewater lot. He's not showing you what he plans to do over in Brockton. But he's put a lot of money in over there.
But he wants to put a whole bunch of storage containers, which sounded more like roll-offs or something for debris. It wasn't wicked specific.
That's
But
right that's right
on
on top of
gravel, right on top of the zone two.
Zone 2.
Yeah, the zone two goes right through.
Absolutely no. I'd say absolutely no. And if the Board of Appeals votes for that, good luck to them when they brush their teeth in the morning. Stupid idea.
So I started a
I don't know
letter.
how I really feel.
No, I think I can guess.
And Art took it to the next level.
Rick, there is a letter on, under that.
Yeah, somewhere there's a copy of Art's letter.
That would go from the commission.
Okay.
Oh, top left.
Yeah, I
Go up here?
Yep. So we have something to them telling them no.
I hope you didn't hear my stomach all
It did.
That, if that goes through, that's gonna affect about 90% of your water supply. It could. It's good, because it affects Norman Avenue, Sears Street.
Yeah, it's out at the end of the zone two, but it's gonna go, it's in the zone two, that means it gets into the wells.
Yeah. But I mean, this is where most of the wells are.
Okay.
The only other one you got
Is Manley.
is Manley, so, I think the only thing I'd add to this is that, and I'd make a motion for it, is that the Board of Water Commissioners is absolutely opposed to this.
Oh, and that, yeah, this was meant as a
No.
draft to be looked at anyway.
That's a nice way, that's a nice way of saying no, but I just
Yeah.
make sure that they know the answer's no. From the Board of Water Commissioners, who owns all the land around it.
Should've bought that lot. But you figure it's landlocked residential.
It was
So,
landlocked
why not?
residential, and that's why we didn't take it by eminent domain. You know, it probably would be a good idea just to take it. Landlocked, residential land is worth peanuts. It's not worth anything. So just take it by eminent domain, let them fight it in court. It'll be in court in about 10 years. And you'll pay peanuts for it. 'Cause we've done that before.
When's the last time we took land?
Up on where we put the tank,
Up on Walnut?
up on Walnut, we offered him like $30,000 or something at the time, which was a house lot price. And he wanted a lot more. And 10 years later, we went to court and they settled the day of the court for $30,000. I couldn't understand it. And the lawyer took his percentage out of it, so he got
Yeah,
less
they
money.
lost a lot.
And he waited 10 years and didn't make any sense to me, but, and that is a residential lot, and that's all you're taking. You're taking a residential lot that's landlocked.
Well, he's developed the other side of it.
And
There's no frontage to it whatsoever.
He's put in infrastructure.
I just take it and then let them fight for it.
I'd be in favor of sending this letter, along with the message that we're not in favor of it at all, and then possibly one or more of us attending that meeting. I don't know when that meeting's gonna be.
Well, the most important thing is we have something from us in writing
Right.
opposing it, so it's in that file, so they have, it can go back.
Yeah.
But yeah, whenever,
Somebody
they have
should-
to notify us of the meeting, right, because we're technically in a butter.
Yeah, so at some point I should get
Somebody
something.
from this-
Tracy didn't think that they
from here
had
should-
filed yet.
be at that meeting.
Yeah, whenever they
Represent the water department.
They'll delegate John Cruz if he's sworn in by then.
He's getting second thoughts.
Are you adding that wording into the letter?
Initiation of John Cruz doing that.
No, Rick's change to that letter is what one I was thinking of.
Just to say that we're opposed to it. No.
What's his hardship for that? What's his hardship for the relief of the zone? I mean, you need a hardship for.
Well, it's not usable for, you'll look at it, trying to use it for residential would be kind of tough. There's no water going there. You know, there's no sewer in West Bridgewater anyway, they'd have to use
How many
sewer.
structures there?
It's underneath two big, huge power lines. It's through the industrial section of Brockton, so it's not like it'd be a,
Does he have any buildings there?
no.
Would
No.
there be any buildings in West?
All he was doing, it's residential and farming technically, so you could farm on it, which is what they were claiming the
Right.
composting operation they were running was. Except they were also coming onto our property and running it, and for all we know, they've taken out,
They
material.
remove
and sold.
material from the property line,
Yeah,
at least on the one face. And the other, if they put in that access road, fairly certain they're gonna change the property line.
I saw that. But I mean, it's a wicked preliminary to say you'd do anything, and then, no, I mean, if we have a chance to say no, we should say no.
So is it in the zone too, or is it abut the zone?
No, it's in the zone.
It's in the zone.
Zone 2 goes right through the lot.
Okay.
And the part of the lot he's doing all that stuff in is the part where it's in the zone.
Years ago, I took everything out there under eminent domain,
From Keller.
and whatever we could negotiate, we took it. And that was one little piece up in the far corner, up against the railroad tracks, zone residential for West Bridgewater, backed up to the business zone of Brockton, and we just figured it's unusable. There's no frontage, it's an unbuildable lot, who cares who owns it? It's a little sand pit like. And then somebody bought it with the commercial land, and now they want to use it in their commercial. No, ours is residential, so. The trouble with that area too, John, is we
I've been out
don't,
there.
we can't keep track of what's going on out there. And years ago, with another
Stephen
contract.
Andrew Paul.
Yeah, Stephen Andrew Paul, he was over there harvesting sand off of our land. His response was, "Oh, I thought that was my land. Oh, sorry." And then, there's a lot of things that go on out there, it just,
Well, yeah, considering they're going through industrial area and whatnot over there and there's no
Yeah.
way you'd ever be able to police what was going on, what was going into that.
we never go over there. At one point, after we found that he was taking all that material, every couple of months, we'd take the buggy, and we'd drive over there, and we'd walk the line to eyeball it to
Yeah.
see what everybody was doing, and once they knew we were watching them, then they stopped. But that's something hard to keep track of. Show John on the map the little corner piece.
And it wouldn't take much for something to get in there that could really screw it. And nowadays with PFAS and stuff like that,
Well, how do you
Yeah.
know?
you don't know
PFAS
what.
isn't- How do you know PFAS isn't getting into the wells from the composting material he has out there?
It shouldn't, because it's supposedly all food grade type stuff from what they described, but you have no way of proving it. But at any rate, it's farming operation that's allowed by right, unless they were doing something else.
So you see that up there, John?
Yeah.
Way up in the little corner.
It's up in the very,
I was out, now the access is through Oak Hill Way, Brockton, right? Is that?
Yeah.
The access road, I've been
Yeah.
out there with Brockton Fire.
Where's the line there? You
So it's
see it?
right there. That's the line.
Okay.
And there, show the line of the property.
And this is us right here. And that's this piece right in here. That's,
That's it. See,
That's
it's in the, right up against the railroad tracks.
today it looks a lot different. Like he's
all wild.
taking a lot of sand out, he's taking all the trees out. Like he's just short of this he's taken this corner has been dozed over.
How about ours?
Yeah, he went,
Right into.
he's
You went
been,
into ours?
yeah. He graded this edge right here, he graded. So if there was a boundary there, it's gone now.
So he's trespassing on town property.
Yeah.
We had that all, with steel, with cement bounds, what's his name? Hugh Hurley put them in.
Yep.
Because when we took that land by eminent domain, we had to have it surveyed and we had to put and claim it with the
Yep.
steel bounds. And
Yeah,
that's-
unfortunately, those things don't stand up to bulldozers real well.
No. No, they don't. But I'm just saying, they should,
Yeah.
they were there.
But of course, they're saying that it wasn't them, it was the people that are doing it, it's the people who were doing the compost, which leased it from them, so that was a whole big thing in that cease and desist, why it wasn't, they were having trouble getting that to go forward. It's like, who's it really go to? It's not the owner, it's the user.
It's this guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is exactly what would happen with that thing down the road,
Yep.
is, oh, we don't know what's out there, you know, so you lease out the operation, or they get that approved and sell it to somebody else.
Right.
I mean, it's just, no, it's a bad idea.
So do we need a motion to,
Well, we need Kerry to add the wording to the end or the beginning, whichever. Yeah, actually, probably could do it right up the top, right at the end of the, maybe right at the end of that first paragraph. You just say, the West Bridgeater Water Commission unanimously opposes the granting of the special permit. Those the right words, Rick?
Oh, yeah, in opposition to it, granting it.
and I just had 2 corrections that I saw.
You correcting my typos over there?
One of them's my name.
What did I
It's with a C.
do?
Great.
Oh, God.
And then stockpiles was trying to turn into sockpiles.
Okay. Do I hear a second to that?
Can you just say that one more time? West Bridgewater Water Commission opposes to what? So I have.
Voted unanimously to, in opposition to this proposal.
That's granting the special
Granting
permit.
I just saw one thing, I mean,
I did put a K.
maybe adding something like the possible contamination of the town's drinking, sole source of drinking water, something that way.
That's in
It's
the,
in there? Okay.
yeah.
Oh, nice.
Wrote a great letter. It was very polite.
I read a lot of,
Very polite, very professional.
no,
It just didn't say no.
No, well, again, I put that out for people to look at. It wasn't supposed to be the final letter.
No, you wrote, it was very good.
Yes.
When that does it, would that be the chairman sign or all commissioners sign? Do you know how that would, I can't remember doing a letter for the CBA like this before.
I think we all should sign it.
Yeah, no, I think so too, but I didn't know
I
if
think
that's
I would
something.
just have a little more kick to it, that we all feel strongly against it.
Dude, I've only seen your name on this stuff, on all the signature things and everything else.
Yeah.
I apologize, don't you?
I mean, we went through
I've seen worse.
spending so much money buying all that land years ago. I was accused of going to bankrupt the town buying all that land. You know, you're gonna bankrupt the
And
town.
it would have cost next to nothing to get that one extra little piece if we just
I
did it
know,
at the
I
time.
know, hindsight's always 20/20.
Yep.
I know. But if we all looked at it, well, you know, what could they do with it? We can't do anything.
Yeah,
So, should I make a motion?
well, John's looking concerned.
Very nice, yeah.
What do you think, John?
Excellent.
I'll make a motion to sign the letter as presented with the changes by Rick and a couple corrections that I made.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Alright.
Next, solar. So they came out and did the audit. Because of the way we ran, they didn't need the electrician, so we didn't have to attach any devices. What I heard about them, from them, was, so they looked at the main office.
Is this the University of Massachusetts?
Yeah, so it's an energy audit, it's not
Right.
specifically looking at solar. So I heard out of them that they were looking at replacing a furnace, and I told them, well, I know that it's 10 grand to replace that furnace, so unless you've got some free money somewhere. LED lights in the office only, because they looked at how we operated, and most of our buildings aren't manned, they didn't think it was cost effective to replace any lights anywhere else. They talked about the roofs aren't good for solar panels because they're metal roofs. They talked about when you're in close proximity to the wells, that sometimes you need DEP permission to put them that close to the wells.
You mean like the ground mounted?
Yeah. Then they talked about ceramic coating. They've had, there's a ceramic coating the riser pipes out of the wells along with the bowls for the impellers, that it prevents manganese and iron buildup, and it's like a 20-year guarantee on it. So when we pull up Manley Street or we pull up Norman Ave, you could take like a putty knife and just the sheets of it coming off, and that's what plugs up the pipes and stuff. So, you know, when they pull them out, I have them deep cleaned anyways. So they talked about that.
And so what do they make the impellers out of?
It's made out of everything, but they ceramic coat the bowls and
Oh,
the
okay.
pipe.
Huh.
I have no idea what that cost, and I didn't think they had any. They're supposed to come back to me, but right now they're waiting for me. They're still looking for more bills from me, so I have to scan some tomorrow and send them
And they're gonna
in.
end up giving us the report
Yeah,
from them saying.
they just
what
need
think.
more information from me now. The next is the job posting.
They didn't knock my socks off.
All right,
Ones
that's,
you sent me, unless you had one of the two, those that you really
No,
thought was worth pursuing.
I was in a meeting today and I ignored it, but I heard a comment that they didn't think that, there would be any issues hiring candidates, that there was other issues involved. So I don't know what that meant, and I wasn't gonna get into it, but, everybody we've hired is intelligent and they're really good, and they've got some specialties, so. I hate waiting, but, it's paid off so far, but we're going into summertime and we wanna get constructing, and it's difficult. I've got 2 guys that are coming up on the seniority dates, and they're carrying a lot of their vacation time. So we'll see how that runs. I'll push Linda again. I know the DPW is gonna post. I was just gonna, when they post, I was gonna say, well, send me copies of whatever you get for candidates so I can look at them. But I know they've had issues with people too, so there's not, you just post and hire somebody.
No, it's not that easy,
Right,
but especially, even if we're just looking for laborers to
yeah.
help out.
I
the
haven't seen
crews.
anybody that,
No, like I said, I looked at those that you sent, and they
Yeah.
didn't particularly not, you know.
All right, that's why I didn't send them originally, but I'm like, all right, if I gotta pick two, that would have been the two.
Okay.
That was Brian's first week.
Yeah. He's still here, so he's in his second week now.
All right, good.
And we had him up, we were operating gates, so the new gate operator, that's really good. Like, you can be in one spot and read. We did like 5 gates without ever moving. It's really nice.
Nice.
So worth what we spent?
Yes. The opera grant. All right, so I told you I got the lady mad at me because first we were putting it all, we had the 2 applications in, so, and she was telling us about paperwork. You better off getting it down to 1 where both projects would eat up the money. So that's when we decided that we'd put it all to Sear and Norman so we could get going. And that's when the pilot test showed that we were gonna have issues, that it wasn't gonna go anywhere, so it was decided to move it to Manly. So that's, she got a little irate, and I think I apologized no less than 3 times to her, and I asked for her phone number so that before I go messing with it again, I'll speak with her. But as far as I know now, we're still applying it to Manly Street. And he mentioned something about 49% loan forgiveness. With the ARPA money and that 49%, Manly Street might happen without any cost to the town. If that, you know, all our ducks are in a row, planets all aligned.
Which happens all the time.
It's warm on Halloween. So I'm still going forward with putting the money towards Manly Street. All right, because I have to reach back out to her and start swapping that stuff around. It's 1.371 million, John, in case you, I didn't, and you know, American Rescue.
It's all in money.
I didn't want to hit you with more,
No, I'm kind of familiar with those terms.
all right.
It's got to do with money, he knows.
Yeah. Capital projects, they were all accepted by FinCom in the town. The budget, well, it's fluxing. I think I'm not sure what's gonna happen because hers changed. The guys, I think they're close to signing now. I think that's up a %. So,
On the
yeah, so I'm not sure how, I asked today if there was still time to make changes, if the books had been printed. She said, no, they're going off, I think on the 20th or somewhere close to that. So there's still time to make changes into the thing before it hits the books. And I think I heard no. So I'll ask about that tomorrow. But it's not a great change, so it's not a budget buster. The 2 things come together.
We'll have to do it anyway, so
Right.
it's not optional.
I'm gonna change it, I just don't know if it'll be reflected in the books or not.
Okay.
And then that brings us to the superintendent and the office manager contracts.
I see those here on the desk.
We're waiting for your signature, it's on
We
your way out.
already approved these, right?
No.
No, they got tabled, they've been tabled a few times, which
Oh.
it's not a big deal.
Bottom left, that's Deb Taylor's.
Yeah.
No, that's,
Rick, the ones with the yellow on them.
Oh, yeah. I know, I saw them earlier. There they are.
I changed the dates at the top again. It's okay to give us an extra 100,000 apiece on your way out, Rick.
I have no problem with them.
I got 2 of the superintendents. Where's Kerry? I was gonna say, we gave Kerry a good grade.
That's when the printer hung up, because
Oh, yeah, here we go.
the printer didn't say needed
You wanted
resources.
to- you wanted to sign 2 for you, so you get twice as much money.
I wish. Yeah,
On your, goals,
yeah.
Project Managed Walnut Street Tank Water Age Project, that's basically running out now, isn't it? Because the next thing we'd be doing would be moving into design of it. I just
Well,
wanna
it's still
do
the
a lot-
project, the
All right,
project
I just didn't wanna leave
is,
it.
yeah, no, it's funded. Like,
Okay.
we funded that, I think, last year. So
I just didn't wanna leave it in there if we should change what it is.
yeah, no,
That's a goal.
hopefully we finish one of the projects. Well, I finished Station 1, and I finished painting the little tank.
Need some touch
I
up.
know you mentioned about taking down the tank, but at the time, the tank was supposed to, the little tank was supposed to come down, but it was gonna cost as much to take it
Yeah.
down as it was to paint it.
Need to wait for a year, the steel is worth a lot of money.
Right. I mean, I listed goals, but basically the town said that they don't put goals in anymore. I just do it so you guys have an
Well, no,
understanding
it's,
of what
but
I'm doing.
it's good to have it in to kind of give an idea of all the stuff on your plate anyway. Because it's not just,
It's getting
the-
full of.
yeah, it's not just day-to-day stuff, there's a lot of things in here that, particularly now, with the stuff we have going forward, we'll be busy.
Yeah. No.
So is this, the percentage of raises, that in line with what the guys got, or
Yeah,
from how the
I
other town,
I don't.
town officials
I
got,
know
or
we're still
whatever?
negotiating with everybody, so I can't. It's in line.
It's in line, okay.
In line with whom? You're saying it is other department heads?
Yeah.
I have no idea what they got. They got their big raises way back when. Now suddenly nobody gets 20% raises, I guess.
20's a little high.
I'm not sure what they got, but they're gonna give them out.
Depends how much you were making to begin with when you got the 20% raise. I have no problem with it.
No.
Anybody got any problems with it?
No. I'll make a motion to ratify, we'll do them one by one at a time.
No.
Yeah, do them one at a time.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to ratify the superintendent's contract as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
I'll make a motion to ratify the office manager's contract as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we need to sign these.
Yes.
I'll sign this so that John's off the hook. If anybody complains, tell them Kruger did it.
How many of these copies do you have to sign?
I just want. And then we'll scan them and that'll do that.
This one here, let me make sure I'm giving you the right one.
Whose is that?
Office manager, okay? And this one is superintendent.
Today's the third.
Third,
Yeah. Can't see it. I need glasses.
do you have anything else?
Uh,
Next meeting?
no, we're still going.
Oh, we're still going, okay.
Yeah.
You paused, I thought we were,
No, so we started the lead and copper, so we're in the 3-month period for biannual lead and copper. So I got more houses, so I had a total of 32 to sample from, but the state kicks you back to 40. So I have to pull 40 lead and copper samples. So now I've got to find more houses, and I'm not going to find too many tier 1. I think I'm going to end up out of the tier 1s.
I thought we were on tier ones a long time ago.
No, there was still more. I think I have like 3 more I can send letters out to and beg them. But I sent out like 20 and I think I got 3 out of that.
What's a tier one?
So it was built in the is it 83, 84, and 85? The 3-year period where lead solder was definitely used, and it's in an appropriate year range to feel that the lead hasn't, diminished in concentration.
Yeah, it hasn't already leached out.
Leached out.
Right, it's just prior, I think they banned it in June of '86.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, so those are the years, that's the last year, so that's why they make them priority tier 1. So after that, you can go to the older homes and they become tier 2s and 3s. I might have more luck getting them. I mean, we pay them for it, we pay the basic fee for that quarter when we sample a house. And even at that, I still have a hard time getting the people to respond.
You can't get people to do it. And a lot of people think that if there's something found, they're gonna be in trouble, you know? If there's like lead and.
Well, they're concerned that the mandate would come through that they'd be required to replace all the piping in their house.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I
they,
mean, I get
so
it.
they, oh, no, you're not gonna. And then the other thing is, they have to take the sample first draw in the morning. We can't be there, you know, when they first draw in the morning. So it puts a burden on them to remember to fill the bottle. We show up, sometimes they say, oh, for God.
Right.
Then we have to come back again, so it's a pain in the neck for them.
So we just went through, last year was a lead and copper year for us. So if we were on reduced sampling every 3 years, it took me all 3 months to get 20 samples. So getting 40 samples is, I don't know, we'll see. So that just got dumped on me. Oh, the CCR is done. I'm ahead on that. I got to proofread it a few more times just to make sure I didn't miss a date here or there. But it's done. But I was holding off
What's
on
your
that.
unaccounted for this year?
Oh, the annual report's done too. I got it under 10%.
Good.
But now I'll get to the next thing. So the big warehouse down at 586 Manley Street, he's done a few fire flow tests. So he's losing flow, and I don't get it. He's tested 4 times, is it 4? Yeah, he's tested 4 times now. And if you look at the bottom test there, he just did it today.
1,400?
Yeah, so nothing's changed in a sample in our
What building is
system.
this?
So the Spadia property,
You know, when they got all those trucks
The
parked
fathers.
out there that they just kept, you know, grading it out and parking, they're gonna put a building up in there.
Sounds to me like a gate valve's closed.
but between when he did his first sample back in March of 2022 and this current sample, nobody's changed anything in the system. So I thought maybe Manley Street was backwashing, so we were careful today to make sure Manley Street was on and not backwashing. And he came up with even less flow. So we're gonna go through, I'm gonna have to go through and
Were those other
we'll look
ones-
at all the gates.
Were the
but-
earlier ones with more flow was the tank on Walnut Street in
No,
operation?
no, Wallace Street's been offline now for better than a year, maybe 2 years.
Well, that doesn't make sense. What hydrants is he flowing?
He's flowing the ones down towards the end.
He's been doing the same ones each time, though.
Yeah.
There's no big use up there.
No, there's
He
nothing.
should be doing anything.
And I just looked at my pumping record for yesterday. I'm not showing any increase in pumping. It was on Manley Street where we had that sprinkler line blow apart and wouldn't surface and we were losing.
Did he
About
give you
700,000 gallons a day.
the actual tests?
What?
Did he give you actual tests or just?
Yeah, he did, no, I
Did
had them.
statics change? Or is statics the same?
All right, now I gotta.
Just wondering if there's something, you know, something else going on.
You wanted me to read that, right? Is there a zoom? No.
Yeah, at the
Yep,
bottom.
there it is. Alright, residual flow 0, residual PSI was 55 on that one.
Which one is this?
So this is the March
That's the first
22nd.
one.
Yeah, that's the first one.
Last year.
So that's 25, yeah, almost 2,500 at 20 pounds, I think.
Yep. Yeah, he got to 20 pounds, yep. Alright,
How many gallons per minute is he saying that?
About 2,500 at 20 pounds.
which I would expect out of that.
Yeah, that's good, big main, it's,
Click that thing. No, this one had to be a little different. Alright. Now I gotta find,
ooh,
change the,
Static with 70 and.
static's 12 pounds higher.
yeah,
Oh, no, that's one, that one's 2,400.
yeah, the first two that he got
Okay.
were good, and then it started to decrease. And then here is, the static is still up there, it's
Well,
just under 50 though, it's 49.
Wait a minute, his static is only 51 pounds.
Yeah, he dropped,
yeah, the first one was 58, the second one was
55.
right,
70.
55, 70, 51.
so we're down to 51.
He should be up around 70 pounds.
Yeah, something doesn't look.
Something's not right there.
What,
Right.
the other thing that
And his static on the final one, the start, he has is
51
51.
again down to 22.
Yeah. Results.
51 pounds, that's,
That's the same static, and he's pulled 11 pounds lower,
Yeah,
opening the same hydrants.
yep,
Go back, can you open up the first one again?
Yeah.
The 71, the high static. There's something, there might be something else going on.
that's why he's used the same equipment, I'm sure, but I'll ask him just to make sure.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute, go up to the,
Yeah,
go up. Static, they might have done that test wrong.
you know what you should do, Wayne?
Static was 55, residual was 52. That test's no good.
yeah, he didn't drop anything.
And you know, that they either didn't have something calibrated right, or they measured something wrong. So all you get is 3. They're projecting out to 20-pound drop from 3 pounds drop. The
Right.
Test is no good. That was too high.
That's the only one that
Best
was
thing for
around
you to
number.
do, Wayne, is print those all out, so you can look
Yeah,
at all of them in writing, and so you can compare all the numbers.
Yeah, because that doesn't, there's something else going on. And like you said, that static you shouldn't, even if you 50 something or 70, that's like the pumps are on or off almost. Yeah, it seems like they didn't pull enough water when they did that first test by Allen and Major.
You know what I have to do, Wayne, are you able to do a test yourself?
I don't have I always meant to buy the
You
equipment.
don't have mosquitoes?
No, I don't have the.
You know, tubes and stuff. We always used to have one around here.
I mean, I can open up a hydrant and let it go full bore and see what the drop is, but I can't.
Why don't you buy one? You know how to use one?
Yeah, well, now they're fairly automated, like you can get them. If you give me
Because
permission.
when you put the tube on, it's a measured amount that water's
Yeah, but
gonna
now,
come
I mean,
out.
now they come up, built into the diffusers and
Right.
different ways. You
No,
don't
they
have
have-
to play with the blade or anything like that.
Yeah,
I used to
but
get a bunch of
If
them.
you go down to the intersection of West
Yeah, I wanna get that. you know.
West of Manly,
Right.
and that hydrant there on the corner, right next to Berwick Boys, that was the most water that I ever seen around town. That thing, when you open it up, it makes the road shake.
Yeah.
There's so much water traveling through there. See what you got down there. And then it's 12-inch all
That's
the
the
way
thing,
to
that
the other end.
whole street is big, it almost sounds like either somebody's using different hydrants, they're not thinking of it, or they didn't open,
Something's,
something wasn't opened, like on, maybe even the hydrant valve, when they opened it up, they didn't do something.
I'd try there and see if you got a lot of water. If you do, I'd go up 2 or 3 hydrants and see what you got for water. If you still got a lot of water, go 2 or 3 more hydrants and see what you got for water. And all of a sudden, if it drops off, I'd check all my gates in between because, something isn't right.
The only place that would've been, we would've messed with gates on that in a long time would've been that big leak.
Yeah.
And we fixed that.
Yeah, and that was,
But that was way before that first test.
right.
That's what's weird, is that, like I said, it almost seems
You
like.
guys exercising gates?
Yes.
Well,
Thanks.
during your exercise, and when you're exercising gates, somebody might have, we got a lot of them that open left and,
Yeah,
they're supposed to open left, a lot of them open right.
yep.
So, somebody might have made a mistake.
That's the good thing about the new Turner, it tells you when you're back where you are.
It tells you when you're on an opposite operating.
No, it tells, when you begin to operate it, it tells you what you're doing. So you
Yeah,
can
but-
see it right and left-hand turning. It won't
But
tell
you
you
don't know
whether.
what's in the ground unless
Right,
it's
you don't
labeled
know,
right.
right.
Or you look on the computer because they're scattered around town. That's why we used to paint the inside of the cover so that you know
Yep,
that that gate
and
was,
trust me, we refresh the paint every time we find one.
yep.
Now, what are they saying they need?
Well,
They're trying to figure out what to design there.
yeah, so he's
System
having
two.
issues that, which each time he comes back, he's getting less and less flow. Like the last one he just did, we made sure Manley was on and not pulling water. And I don't see an increase in pumping rate, so I don't think I have a leak anywhere.
I would, if you had a leak that big, I think it would show up.
Well, that's what we thought
That's
about the
still
last
river.
one, and it didn't.
Well, no, but it showed up in your charts and stuff.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
I
it's
saw it,
erratic.
I knew something was
Yeah.
going wrong.
I'm not sure that might not even be at the same spot. And you're sure when they were running those last couple that Manley was on? Because there's 20-pound difference. in the
I know
stack.
this last one, it was not. The one he just did today, it was not.
Manley was,
Manley was running.
Man,
but-
yeah, no, yeah. Manley was pumping into the system.
Yeah.
Yeah, because these, they did the same.
Well, that's definitely gonna jump the pressure up some.
Right.
Yeah, except it's not.
If it's on a dead end, you know?
Can you look at, you can go back and look and see what was going on when we did these, right?
Yeah, and I did, as he was feeding me the dates.
Because the one when they had 70 pounds
Yeah.
static, was that,
I
man, it
have,
was everything. That's what I'm curious, because you got 20-pound or 19-pound difference in statics.
right.
Which
and-
if Manley's running, they shouldn't be.
Right.
So you could find out yourself, don't put a gauge on the end hydrant.
Right, I
Turn
can follow the,
turn the pump on, turn the pump off, and see what you got for statics, both times.
It looks like something's,
Could it just be the hydrants failing? If it, because it's such a steady decrease time after time, it seems like something's, like if it was a gate in the street, you would expect it to be a low reading, but a consistently low reading, wouldn't you?
Yeah, if you just go along, you know, if you got high pressure here and you keep working your way down the street, as soon as it drops off,
I need the one.
you go back between those two hydrants and check those gates.
Yeah.
in between them and then they don't, you know, make sure they're open or turn them the opposite direction and see, then go back to that hydrant near the low pressure, see if it goes back up. I mean, we found them before. I mean, I've done that. I found them.
Yeah.
And it happens. And everybody denies, you know, I didn't do it, you know, I don't know how it happened. But it's a mistake, that's all. Especially when you got gates that open left and open right.
Well, they might have some of that stuff in here wrong too. If they're using the same hydrant, their opening should be the same diameter. And they're saying the 2.5.
Right.
Then he
Both will
said-
be the same, yeah, pretty
But
close.
then the same hydrants, if they've got them 2-inch on the two that are lower, they're saying the hydrant nozzles are smaller.
Yeah, I don't think they are.
Well, if it's the same hydrant, they
It's the
couldn't
same
drop.
hydrant. No, they're using the same
That
hydrant.
might, I almost wonder if they entered the data wrong, because they've changed.
Did they just flow out the 2.5 spigot, or did they put an actual machined thing on, you know?
So I didn't appear for the test. I haven't appeared for any of those tests.
I mean, before we got too worried about that, I'd ask them what's going on with it. The test doesn't look like they're consistent. Either that or they overestimated it on that bigger one. Because Allen and Major was saying they were 2 inches, although I'm not sure that they used the exact same hydrants on theirs. Oh, they used the nozzle on it though. They didn't use the pitot blade.
Did they?
According to Allen and Major, it doesn't say for this other one.
Oh, yeah. If they're gonna do it on one, they should do it on them all, so they're all the same.
Yeah, 2 different companies.
Oh,
Hose, yeah, they used them. Even that's what they're saying. I don't know, when you can figure it out tonight, but I'll look at them and get back to them or something. But figure out what that, when you get a chance,
Yep.
if you can look at that January 10th one, and
Yeah.
see, because that's the one that has the 70-pound static.
Right. Which I don't know, for that end, I don't think that's possible.
Yeah, it seems high.
Yeah.
but check it with, turn the pump on and see if you can, if it does
Yeah,
go to
no, I
7.
have gauges so we can go out and check static
Yeah.
pressures.
All right, what else you got?
That was it.
Hmm?
That was it.
That's it? When's our next meeting?
Tuesday, April 18th. Because Monday's the holiday.
You gotta remember not to come, right?
Yep.
Just
Carrie, they don't have to
just
remind
have to
me.
get John signed in before then.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be able to make it to that meeting, so it's just gonna be Art and whoever gets selected.
Wow, and get signed in time, or else we'll be changing it to,
Maybe we can get him to leave his buggy, start parking it here instead of driving down South Street.
What's the, swap this, other than swearing in would be Saturday night election. What else is there to be signed in? Is
no, sworn in, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Saturday night,
Oh, does it?
yeah,
Yeah, it happens the same night.
yeah,
All right, and it'll be you and me.
great.
We'll vote Dylan off and we'll take over.
Yeah.
Because he won't be here.
That's when you reorganize the offices, right?
Well, we have to, we'll have to, because we won't have a chairman otherwise. So,
Well, it's been a pleasure working with you guys
Mhm.
for the last 6 years.
lot of knowledge walking out the door with you.
Well, done. So,
Been enough?
been enough. 40 years in the water department. Yep.
It's come a long way.
Yeah.
From pumping water out of the ground with
With
really no treatment.
engines, with car engines.
Yeah.
Oh, didn't they have one of them that they had just one guy on one side and a guy on the other side going up and down? Little wooden pipes.
We just
Yeah.
need a motion to adjourn.
We're all set.
When I came, all we had was the 3 wells, and all we own is about 5 acres right here, 3 or 4 acres. That was it, right around Sear Street, and a little piece over around Norman Avenue.
It's changed
This
some.
was all colorless land. Then I was known as the big spender because I was out there buying up all the extra land. Bankrupt us.
But you didn't buy enough, Rick.
Then I
Should have bought, you missed
missed
that
that.
one little
Should've
piece.
only-
Then we built this building down here, and they said that the water was gonna flow down here, was gonna fill this building right up with water. Never happened.
Bought a farmhouse.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye.